everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be making a fall harvest bowl with roasted veggies and some quinoa and apples and a couple of other little toppings to go on top of it. Make a really healthy dinner that is delicious, and it is also very seasonal. So first you're gonna start out with cutting up all your veggies and getting them roasted. This is gonna take the longest part. So actually first, what I'm gonna do is preheat the oven. It needs to be at 375. We're gonna get that going first. And then I'm gonna start with my butternut squash because this always takes the longest to chop up. You have to get the skin off and then cut it in half and then take the seeds out of it and then dice it up into pieces. Okay, finally got that part done. So now we're gonna chop off both ends and then slice it down the middle. Looks like that. And then we're gonna take the seeds out. I'm gonna need a spoon. Okay, there's that one. Perfect. And now we're gonna dice this into cubes. You want them to be fairly small because otherwise, if they're too big, it will take forever to cook. Try to make them all around the same size so they cook at the same rate. Okay, so you're wanting them to look a little something like this. Just little cubes. You're gonna keep going until you get done with all this. Okay, and then I'm gonna get out my pan. Just wanna use a large sheet pan, and I'm gonna set this all on there. And then I'm gonna start with my carrots. You're gonna want the carrots to be about the same size as our butternut squash. Spread them around. And then lastly, I'm gonna do my peppers. Okay, and then for these peppers, I'm gonna cut them in half and then cut them into thirds long way around so they make like thicker strips. I don't want them to be super skinny because I don't want them to burn. And for the longer one that I have, I'm just gonna cut this in half an extra little bit. This is looking really pretty with all the oranges and yellows and soon to be reds. Okay, that's looking good. And now we're gonna add some olive oil, salt, pepper, and I might add a couple more seasonings just to give it a little extra flavor. And then we're gonna throw this in the oven. Okay, some olive oil, salt, pepper. And then I'm gonna add some garlic powder, onion powder, and Italian seasoning as well, just to give it some extra flavor. And some Italian seasoning. And then you're just gonna wanna mix this all together and make sure everything is laying flat. And once I put it in the oven, I'm going to put it in, it's probably gonna need 45 to 50 minutes is my guess, but I'm gonna keep an eye on it to make sure that it is not overcooking. And if it needs a little bit longer, I can always throw it in for longer. You wanna make sure everything is coated in the olive oil and the seasonings. Okay, wash your hands and then throw it in the oven. Okay, we're gonna put it in the oven. Okay, it is 350, so see you in a little bit. Okay, up next is quinoa. So I have the rinsed quinoa in here, and I'm going to add in, I have a half a cup of rinsed quinoa in here, and then I'm gonna add in my water. And then we're gonna get that simmering on the stovetop as well. Okay, up next I am gonna chop up some celery and an apple for some side toppings. Okay, now I'm gonna cut up some celery and an apple for the harvest bowl as well. Okay, and then chop up the apple the same way. Take out the core, paring knife for this. You're gonna wanna chop each quarter into thirds and then dice them up. Then you chop this one up like so. Okay, so I'm gonna put these into their own individual bowls, and then I'm gonna get a bigger one for my kale that I'm gonna work on next. I'm gonna cover up the apples so that they stay fresh for longer. There we go. And then for the kale, this is already pre-chopped up, but I don't like the little ribs in the center, so I always go through and cut those out. Okay, Okay, that's good for the kale. Now I'm going to make the dressing and then massage in the kale so the kale gets more tender. Okay, we're gonna start out by making the dressing for our kale. We're gonna need avocado oil. I'm gonna do about a half a cup of that. And then about 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar. And then about 2 cloves of garlic. And then to add a little bit of sweetness, I'm going to add some maple syrup. Okay, I'm gonna do about 4 spoonfuls of that. Syrup is so good. This is fresh maple syrup. Mix that together a little bit. And we're gonna massage it into our kale. So make sure your hands are nice and clean before you do this. This is gonna help to tenderize the kale and make it easier to eat. Just gonna wanna get in there with your hands and kind of scrunch it together. You wanna do this for enough time that it starts to wilt a little bit and it becomes a little more tender. Really shrunk it down already just by doing it just this little bit. Dressing is good. It's a nice mix of the avocado oil. It's a very neutral oil. And with the acidity from the apple cider vinegar, it gives it a little bit of a tang, but then the sweetness really balances it out really nice with the maple syrup. Okay, well, all that is waiting. I'm also gonna brown up a little bit of some spicy hot sausage just to give some extra protein, just to give some protein in here and give it a little bit of heat. You just wanna brown this until it's cooked all the way through. I got all my stuff cooked up and ready to go, so it is time to put together my harvest bowl. It's actually gonna be more of a plate, but same difference. Get some quinoa for the bottom. And then some spicy sausage. And some of my squash, carrots, and peppers. This did cook for about an hour, so it did take a little bit longer than I was expecting, but it's all good. And then over here, put some of my kale. And then some celery. We'll give it a nice little bit of a crunch. And then my apples. Add a little bit of sweetness. And then I'm gonna add some dried cranberries. Figured that would go well with the sausage and the apples and everything else. And then I have some of these pickled onions that I did last week in my meal prep video, so if you want to see how I did this. They turned out beautiful. I love the color and they taste delicious too, but it just adds such a nice pop of pink. I just love them. There's that. And then final touches, I'm gonna add some feta cheese. There we go. And some pumpkin seeds to finish it off. Okay, awesome. I'm gonna give you a closer look. This looks fantastic. I love all the different colors, and it will have all sorts of different textures and flavors. Perfect for the fall. Okay, it is time for a taste test. Okay, let's give this a try. I want to get a little bit of everything on my bite. This might be a little bit difficult. Get some sausage, apple. Okay, oh, this is a big bite. Okay, this is delicious. I'm really happy with how this turned out. It has a great mix of different textures and different flavors. It has the acidity from the kale with the dressing on it, the sweetness from the apples, and the roasted veggies added quite a bit of sweetness to it as well. It has crunch from the seeds and the celery and the apples, and it has some heat from the sausage. And the quinoa is also just a nice base for it all to be on and kind of latch on to. So I am very happy with how this turned out. And this will be a great thing to have throughout the rest of fall. If you like this kind of content, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next video.